It's time for Tab Talks, your weekly conversation about matters of faith. I'm your host, Jennifer Rash.
And I'm your co-host, Debbie Campbell.
We have caught up with our friend and author, Michael Alan Tate, who has written and released a new book, Roll Up Your Sleeves, Leading and Living in a World of Constant Change. Definitely a timely book. Welcome, Mike.
Thanks so much, Jennifer and Debbie. So good to see you again. Last time we were sitting in the room together, but now it's a new world, right?
I know. We have been talking with Mike on different occasions about the books he's doing and the work he does as an executive leadership coach and all that he has his hands in. And wow, this book, Mike, how did you know this would be the time to write this, Leading and Living in a World of Constant Change?
Well, obviously I didn't know. I wrote this book. It was in line with my publisher to come out in November of this year after the election, during that time of change. And they called about a month ago and said, we need to get this book out now. So it's not me. I'm not that smart. so they put it out, and it is time because everybody's just experiencing unprecedented kind of things here. And so this helps you look at that in a new way and understand how you can move yourself and others through it. And if you're in a leadership position, or if you're just at home wondering, what in the world do I do with this?
Well, I have a question. It's called Roll Up Your Sleeves. So I would like for us just to roll up our sleeves right now and let you share with us, some of the highlights. What is it? What's in the book that will help us?
To step back, I wrote a book called The White Shirt that you interviewed me about last time, which was finding your life-giving career and how you do that. Mm-hmm. And this book's a follow-up to that, because once you have a career or you get your purpose, then the world changes, and how do you handle it? I chose to roll up your sleeves because it's an analogy in the book of how most of us, we've heard all our lives, well, just roll up your sleeves. Our mothers told us that, our bosses told us that, everybody told us but it's not that easy when the change hits. And the message of the book is that we all have a different way that we experience change. And there's a difference between change and transition. Change is what happens to you, the event, like the announcement of the virus.
Right.
Transition is my definition of the emotions that you go through after change occurs. There's 3 phases we all go through in our lives, any kind of change we have, and the book explains that. And we do it with the 4 characters from the first book, The White Shirt. This is a parable, again, continues their journey, and they meet people and learn about change. And they learn about the Exodus story. They go to a Jewish Passover, and they learn about that story and how Moses led the people from Egypt, which was the change, through the Red Sea, which was an ending, into the wilderness, and the lessons that teaches us that we still apply today in business and in life and in church and in nonprofits and all that. So it's that universal story that, God always has all the answers, even though we try to come at it at a different angle. The Bible always has those principles. If we just follow them, we can learn more than about living and leading as well. So that's a little bit about the book. So.
Why is it important to understand that difference between change and transition?
Because because people say we just need to manage the change, but what happens so much is when something happens, I'll take me for example. When this COVID thing happened, I thought, it's not going to be anything. I'm just going to go on. I will not participate. And that's called swinging from resistance to commitment without ever going through the emotions in between, which is when something happens, we initially have a shock and we kind of deny this is happening. That's where I was. Then we need an ending. There has to be an ending. In the Bible, in the Exodus stories, it was the Red Sea. That was the time we said the past is the past, so we'll go forward. We really haven't had an ending for this thing. But so we're going through this shock, this resistance. From resistance, you go to exploration, from exploration to commitment. And so it's important for people to realize that, because personally, I just swung on over. We call it the Tarzan swing. I swung from, this is nothing, to I'm committed, I'm going on. And about 2 weeks ago, I got depressed. I got sick, which happens in all this stuff. I just got feeling bad. I went back, and then I kind of had to start all over and start. I couldn't write, I couldn't do anything. And I thought, oh my gosh, I think I wrote about this in this this book. And I personally experienced that, going through that depression time and that confusion time. And now I'm back kind of exploring ideas again. So personally, I've experienced that. And I think people need to realize that's how you will feel. You will go through depression. You'll go through being angry. You'll start thinking of new ideas. But we always know when you get really close to commitment and move into, as we'd say, our promised land, our new beginning, that we become thankful. Once you can say, I'm grateful for what I've learned in all this, then you know you're moving towards that, as the Bible would say, your promised land, we'd say your new beginning. You've gotten through that transition of emotions that's just common. And men especially don't want to face that emotional piece. And I think it's a good reminder that we do that. And if you're a leader in a company, I don't know if anybody has ever sat in a room with all the other guys and the ladies and put a great plan together. Then you went out and rolled it out, and you thought, why didn't people accept that? Because this was a change. We didn't allow for them to go through the acceptance and the in the exploration, all those emotions that people go through. It just takes people need to learn to have not a change management plan, but a transition management plan as well, if they're in an organization of any type, a church, a nonprofit, or a business.
As you think about, as you mentioned, company leaders,
Mm-hmm.
How do people accept and grasp change in different levels, I would say, and I guess what I'm asking at this point is, how do you help people? Some people, jump on change and they're ready. Yep. It's like, let's go. Others hold back and they resist it. Right. How, as a leader, how can you help bring those that are resisting it and maybe even almost to the point of being paralyzed and not able to even consider it, move them along?
Yeah, well, that's a great question, Debbie. And in the book, the four guys take this journey and they have 10 observations at the end, which I share. And in those observations, the first one is, change is not the same as transition. The second one is personality matters. We all have a different way of moving through change, and leaders need to help people understand that. We have a little quiz on my website that you can go take and figure out what your personality is as far as when change hits, because we all move things differently. But the other thing is what happens when, if you're in a company, when change happens, role clarity becomes extremely important. Because when that whole world shifted, your role changed in some way, and we come back assuming we had the same kind of role we had before, but it's not. So right when you come back in, to remind people of what their role is, and then what the purpose of the organization is too. We can get all wrapped up into how we feel about this and where we're going, but if we can come back and remind people. I was just talking to someone just a minute ago, a leader of a company, and he said, man, my people are just angry and they're kind of bickering each other and doing all these things. And I said, yeah, when was the last time you reminded them the purpose of your organization? Now, this is a utility company.
Wow.
He said, well, we're out there putting poles up. I said, why are you putting poles up? Well, to keep electricity. Why are you keeping electricity running? And he finally got down to, we're doing this because there's a child out there that needs a respirator. And if his electricity goes off, we're out there helping people and serving people. So you have to help people get back to what are we doing? What is that main purpose that we have for our organization? There's a lady I was talking to who runs a security company, security systems. Mm-hmm. And she was, her people had kind of got off track because they need to call and tell people to pay their bill to get their security systems up. It's hard to get motivated for that until she reminded them, if that security system goes out, what happens? somebody breaks in, somebody gets robbed, somebody gets hurt. So you're out there helping people take care of their families. You're not collecting money for payments. You're trying to get people to help keep their families safe. So reminding people of that purpose and that they all have a different personality, and to honor that would be what I would tell leaders to think about and have a plan to do it. So,
jumping off on that though, what if you have a true variety of personalities and they're all at different paces and different levels? Some, there are some that are willing to hear that and some still not willing to hear it. Do you have a suggestion for how you keep everything moving forward while you're trying to help the ones who are a little bit stubborn in the back?
Yeah. Well, and they're usually not so stubborn as they're just afraid and they don't know where they are. Yeah, they don't. And so one really easy thing to do is I have a graph. It's called the wave of change and wave of transitions, and it has a part where you say, here's my change, and then it comes, well, I can show it to you. Yeah. I don't know if you can see that or not.
Bring it up a little bit for us. High. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
this, can you see it?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yeah. And so that's in the book. And it's, and I have done this all my life with people. I used to work with people who lost their jobs and people in organizations. I bring this out and I say, do you see where you are? Do you remember, are you in shock, anger? Are you exploring? Where are you on that? And they actually pinpoint, this is how I feel right now.
Oh,
And you say, so how did you feel a week ago? Well, I felt this over here. So this little model is probably one of the best things. It's actually on my website. You can just download it. That when somebody says people are all over the place, and what it does is help people realize that we're all going through this together. We hear that all the time. But and so that's that little simple tool there is one of the easiest things to use just to help people have a conversation about where they are. And all people need to be right as much as they just need to be understood.
mm.
The foundational principle in Roll Up Your Sleeves is this: everyone has unseen battles they are fighting. Be kind, but
So
speak
good.
the truth.
Mm.
And I can tell you where I discovered that. It was in all my deep research. I was in a Hampton Inn having breakfast
Okay.
about a year ago when I was writing the book, and I walked down to have breakfast, and there was a little chalkboard that set up, and it said, "Everyone has unseen battles they are fighting. Be kind." And that's where, God sends those things to you.
Wow.
And so that is the whole part is, during this time, be kind, but speak truth. We can be too kind or we can be too truthful. So just to balance those, but just to remember that we all have, the way we act has to do with some other underlying story most of the time. I don't mean people to be psychologists, or this is not clinical that I'm talking about. It's just kind of common sense to, be kind, remember the Beatitudes and
Mm-hmm.
all those things. So, yeah.
You're listening to Tab Talks. We have our guest, Michael Alan Tate, and we're talking about his new book, Roll Up Your Sleeves, Leading and Living in a World of Constant Change. Debbie Campbell and I'm Jennifer Rash. We're here talking with Mike, and he's telling us all about ways we can help people work through change. We can help understand the difference with transition. Once the change happens, it's an event, right, Mike? And then the transition is what happens after.
Yeah.
You were saying being understood is really more important than necessarily being right. And I think, wow, right now, again, what all that's happening around us, and that ability to try to understand each other and to realize how many people are on those different points on that wave that you pointed out.
Yeah.
That has to be part of what's got the conflict going and the miscommunication and the misunderstandings.
Yeah, it is. And there's, of course, a lot more going on with the things out in the world but the emotions still, people get in those emotions. And one of the other kind of observations we have in the book is that self-counseling doesn't work.
Oh.
You know, when change hits, we become our worst counselors. Uh, so that's why, you know, there's a principle in both these books about two are better than one, because if one falls down, there'll be another to pick him up,
Mm.
her up, Ecclesiastes. And so just remember, the best thing you can do is find someone to talk with, because, you know, if you go it alone, you'll probably go pretty fast, but you more than likely crash.
Mm.
But if you go together, you'll go far. So, and the other thing that I found is uh, that I've discovered and has worked for me is that the uh, the best way to get through a struggle is to help someone else get through theirs.
Mm.
Um, you know, or get a dog, one or the other. But you know, dog
Oh,
helps too.
I'm a fan.
Yeah, right. No, you know, yeah, I think you see people getting more and more dogs during this time because dogs always love you, no matter what,
No
and no
matter
matter,
what.
yeah. But you know, it's I know during this time, you know, when I get feeling sorry for yourself, and then you go out and see somebody that's just trying to get enough food to live for that day, it makes you realize, what can I do? When you can help someone else, that's that old principle um, that we've been taught in Sunday school and all our lives, is just serving other people, and that serve in the end you serve yourself
Mm.
and uh, and get back. So.
Mhm.
So those are some of the things in the little book. The little book, by the way, is a 93-minute read, so you can read it on an airplane. Well, don't know airplane flights anymore,
That's a,
but a couple hours. It's an easy kind of fun read, and so
you know,
and
you know, you use the parable. Tell us a little bit about why you choose to not just put it together really, you know, in little bullet points really, but you actually write a story, and you've got these characters, and they've made it through 2 books now, and I think I
yeah,
remember they're going to appear in a
yeah.
third book.
There's a third one, and the guys are figuring it out right now. My characters are. They always lead me through these books, but oh well. I mean, you know. Parables are more fun to write than writing down a self-help book. And you know, I think people and you know, all the great Jesus, Socrates, all the people, you know, have always the great philosophers have taught us that people learn best through stories and symbols.
Mhm.
And so in the book you'll find stories and you'll find symbols, and it's just a fun way, but it helps you remember it and attach it to something that's got some emotion to it. And uh, really, I mean, you know, I've written one book that's more of a self-help direct book, but these last two have been parables because I like to do them, and
Very creative.
and it's fun, and I've never, you know, and it's a miracle really because you know, in college I was so bad in English and stuff that I actually paid somebody to write one of my papers for me. And now I'm doing this, which tells you this is just a miracle. I should not be doing this. So I just say, you know, that's why I can give credit to God to stepping in and pulling out gifts I never even knew I had, and how people have encouraged me in this. But yeah, so I go back and read these stories and went, where did that come from? So anyway.
I know. I love the characters. I'm starting to get, you know, I'm feeling like I'm invested in them. I'm following. I want to see what happens next.
Yeah, and there's always a villain in
Yes.
our last one was called, this one's Shadan, and
Mhm.
he is despicable. So you'll enjoy reading about, you know, and you've met him too. Everybody's met Shadan.
Yes.
They're
Yeah,
all,
you can put faces on these characters a lot of times.
yeah, yeah.
Uh-oh.
It's pretty funny. It's
So
pretty funny.
yeah, so I hope the book's fun, and you know, people get something out of it, and I hope during this time especially, and because I've had a chance to um, you know, meet with a lot of business leaders and take them through these principles and have their teams talk about them, because we just have sent them out and let's have a conversation about personality matters, and let's have a conversation about principles matter, and let's talk about the process and what people go through. And you know, there's no way really to fix this. You just have to have conversations about it, and that's the
Mhm.
only way we get through this stuff. So
And you know, pulling from your executive leadership coaching, all of this kind of plays out in these books. I know that these are the principles, like you said, that you've taught
yeah.
for years. Do you find some of the same things happening over and over and over with totally different companies, entirely different leaders, but similar issues and similar reactions?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's almost always the same. Everybody shares the same commonality of issue. Like I say, I'm the most brilliant person when I say I think your problem's communication. I mean, everybody has those kind of problems, and your roles aren't clear, and all these things are all the same. And but the secret to consulting is not having the right answers, is helping people come up with their answers. And most people really do know what they need to do. They just haven't been asked the right questions. And that is what I do, is say, let's think about it this way, let's think about it that way. Now, which of those ways would you think would be the best way to do it? Most of the time, occasionally, I might come up with something brilliant, but that's be pretty rare.
Oh, come
But
on.
No, well, no, I just lay out the processes and keep people on track to I just enable and facilitate them getting to the outcomes they want. So that's my role as a coach. Is not I'm never the one with the answer, because I know people do not need my answers. They have them. They just need to realize them and set up a structure to get there. And in like any kind of transition, even in if you remember the story of Moses in the wilderness, one of the first things he did, he tried to do everything himself. He was solving all of people's problems himself. And his brother-in-law Jethro came to him and said, the first management consultant said, "Moses, what you're doing doesn't make any sense, buddy. Why don't you consider putting them into some kind of order, 10 report to 10, report to 10." So they set up a structure. And so that's kind of what I do in my consulting, is help people just get to that, because people only use what they invent, not what I invent. So my role is to encourage people to do that, and then help them see things in a different way, and slow down. You see, I have a bird dog as my symbol for my company, and it is all about slowing down, pointing on the things that matter most, and working on those. So that's kind of the work I do, and as I work with organizations and and some nonprofits, and enjoy occasionally get to working with you guys, and
I
this has
know
been great to be here.
Yeah.
you've been great.
That was one thing you mentioned. Bird dog is your symbol, Mike.
Yeah.
And so that leads me to ask you, what do we learn? What can we learn from the bird dog? Why did you make that your, symbol?
Sure. Because they teach us three things. Bird dog is different than any other dog in that when it senses what it's supposed to be around, it stops and points and holds steady. My dogs hunt quail, so they'll run through a field and a sparrow will fly up, a red bird will fly up, a blue bird will fly up. They just keep going close to the thing that's important. So a leader has a nose for what's important. They should, the things they need to focus on. So it teaches you to slow down, stop, and focus on that one thing, because that's the secret to leadership, is the ability to focus. When everything else is moving around, you just stop, and even for 10 minutes, focus on this one thing. The other thing bird dogs teach us, the second, is to honor each other, because when one of my bird dogs points, my other two dogs honor the point. They desire to get their nose in front of that other dog to get closer to that bird, like all of us do. But they have been taught to honor. So I've had just dogs, be a half a mile away and see another dog, and they just stop and point, and they're telling me that dog's pointed. They're serving me, but they're honoring the other dogs. So we slow down, we honor each other, and the last thing is they retrieve. Bird dogs, when you harvest a quail, they'll run and bring it right back to you. And so I just teach you that the main questions leaders need to ask themselves is, what's important right now? during this time especially. We have a vision, but you got to slow down, honor each other, and then say what's really important. What's the most important thing right now? So that's why the bird dog's there. That's what they teach us.
Oh, fantastic. Well, Mike,
Yeah.
we're going to have to leave it there.
Okay.
The book is Roll Up Your Sleeves, and you can find it on Amazon, I know. Anywhere else, Mike?
Everywhere, local
Everywhere.
bookstores. Get it down at Little Professor in Birmingham.
Okay.
They have it there. All the local bookstores, Amazon, Barnes and Noble. And it's my website for the book is rollupsleeves.com. But you can go to my website, which is michaelalantate.com, and you can see all the books there, the white shirt and all my other books, and Roll Up Your Sleeves as well. And you can take the little quiz online too and figure
Ooh,
out
goody.
what you
Yeah.
can do it it says 2 minutes, but doesn't take that long.
All right, we'll have to get our team to take that quiz.
Yeah.
Oh, Mike, thank you so much. It's been great talking with you and great to see you again.
You
So
too,
we
Jennifer
will,
and Debbie.
yeah, we'll look forward to seeing what we learned. I've actually already read the book, and it is a good one. So thank you for sharing that, and we'll catch you another time.
Thanks so much.
All right, and thank you all for listening. We'll be back next week.